Hey guys, welcome to the WWE podcast, the Monday Night Raw review version. And we've got a guest co-host tonight with Sean Harford, longtime patron and listener of the show. So we've got a ton to break down with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and that dynamic. If Sheamus is truly turning babyface, Randy Orton and the Fiend, and Alexa Bliss's continued brilliance, and AJ Styles becoming the number one contender for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. Let's get it all started right now.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? Because Stone Cold said so.
Hey guys, welcome to the show, and boy, Monday Night Raw review. Lot to get to, lot to talk about on this first day of December 2020, as we very graciously and willingly get to the final month of 2020 that will put a tear in exactly zero people's eyes that the year 2020 is coming to a close. It's actually crazy though, right? Like, as we get closer to 2021 and we think about how 2020 started, it doesn't feel like almost a year ago. I mean, granted, we've had about 20 years worth of crap happen in this year, but it's really crazy, you know, how ignorant we were in 2020, how innocent we all were before all of this insanity came upon us, and especially as sports fans, you know, not being able to see fans in any venue whatsoever after March. I mean, I remember it happened right in the middle of the NCAA tournament with the whole COVID thing. So hopefully 2021 is a much different, much better, much improved year. Can't really get much worse, right? Or should I not say that? Because aren't those like famous last words? Where it can't get any worse than this, and then it inevitably does get worse. So if 2021 is somehow worse, I guess you could come on here and blame me, right? So, all right. Well, anyway, Monday Night Raw review is coming your way with Sean Harford, who is a longtime patron of the show on patreon.com/WWE podcast. And he is in the top tier of our patronage, which means he's able to come on the show and be a co-host, which you can do too. Just head on over to patreon.com and join us, and you can be on this show as a co-host, reviewing any show you'd like. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, take your pick. It's pay-per-view, whatever you'd like, but head on over to Patreon. You can also get a complete ad-free experience for all of our shows. Every show we've done, everything is ad-free. So head on over there if you're interested. But also, we are available live. Yes, live tomorrow. And again, I'm going to do a live show tomorrow, and that is only if we get callers. I'm going to start the show. It'll be at 8:30 at night, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can call in about anything wrestling related, and we can chat about it. If there are no callers, then we just end the show. I mean, not embarrassed, right? Like, if there's no callers, there's no callers. People got stuff going on. And so I'll be doing a live show tomorrow on Blog Talk Radio, and that link will be coming up on Twitter. If you don't want to wait for the link, just head on over to Blog Talk Radio and search out the WWE podcast, right? Simple. But you can call in. So if you want to call in and you want to be put on hold and you don't want a link, you just want to call the number at 8:30 at night, Eastern Standard Time, that number is 516-387-1528. That's 516-387-1528. And when you call, you have to press 1 to know that I can bring you on the show. Like, you can listen in listen only mode, but if you want to be put on the show, you got to press 1, and you'll get put in the switchboard so I can bring you on the show. That's the only way I'll know. But you can also send us a voicemail, right? Because I'm still going to be doing the WWE mailbag portion of the show. I'm going to be doing probably 2 shows tomorrow night. One will be the live show / the mailbag, and the other will be a wrestling nostalgia show. So you'll get 2 shows in about 8 hours' time with yours truly. So that'll be fun. But tomorrow night, we're going live. If I get no calls, I'll hang out for like 10, 15 minutes, maybe less. And if there's nobody calling in, there's nobody calling in. I'm not going to talk to myself. So that's cool. But the option is there for anyone that is interested in calling us live. Again, you can also send us a voicemail. And you guys know what that number is. If you want to send us a voicemail, that is also welcome. And for those that don't know what that number is, that number for our voicemail is 518-952-0247. Okay, enough with all that. Let's get to Sean and myself. Again, we talked about Monday Night Raw, which I thought was a decent Raw, not without its flaws, as Sean and I really get into it on Monday night. And, of course, getting a little bit of a TLC preview as well. So, thank you guys for listening. Tomorrow night, again, live show with Nostalgia as well. 2 shows in one. And then on Thursday, you guys know the deal. We've got like 8 shows left for the week. Tons of content being pumped out. But thank you guys again. Hit us up on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and review. And I will talk to you guys next time. All right, guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. And we are here tonight with Sean Harford, longtime patron of the show. And it's great to have him back here to discuss Monday Night Raw as we creep closer to our next pay-per-view of TLC. And then, believe it or not, everybody, it is WrestleMania season after TLC. It's really crazy to think about. But before we get to the Monday Night Raw review, Sean, how you doing? It's great to have you back.
I'm doing pretty good. It's great to be back. Lots go on. Lots to discuss today, for sure.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of places we could go from last night's show, between the Sheamus and Drew McIntyre interaction where Miz tried to stir the pot and tease cashing in all night, to the Lana victory once again over Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. But I do want to start with the topic that we talked about right before we went hit record here, and that is the Jeff Hardy Elias match. I'll toss it to you. What did you think?
It was a mess. I'll say that. It was like instruments everywhere, instruments that you could think of, like drums, cello, guitar. I know they hit each other with a guitar, like sort of revenge and payback. But Jeff Hardy was able to get the upper hand and the last like win there to end that rivalry.
Yeah, it was, again, I actually am surprised that they had this match, given that they seemed like they kind of ended it a number of weeks ago, and then they resurrected it this week. I'm not sure why, but here we are with another gimmick match with these two over a false allegation that Elias apparently has no access to any footage whatsoever, and could easily be debunked that Jeff Hardy was not, in fact, the assailant that ran him over back in May, I think it was, in the parking lot at the Performance Center that he's just hung on. And that's really the only purpose for this match, is a false allegation from like 6 months ago. But, again, this was it was a mess, as you put it. It was kind of a beautiful mess. I know that it was also kind of a comedy segment for Vince McMahon. He, I think, also put this as a dual gimmick / comedy relief for the show, as we had Drew Gulak show up. We had R-Truth show up. What did you think about that?
It was very unexpected. I don't know why they pushed into it. That's one thing. It's a 24/7 championship, and anyone's going to do what they want to get it.
Yeah, he's going to. I mean, he is not. WWE and Vince is not really against putting Truth in any segment, and Truth is willing to do almost anything. I mean, Truth, I think, often doesn't get the respect deserved. And if he were ever to challenge for a true, like, legitimate championship, I think the fans would be behind him 100%. And so this was kind of a match within a match with all the other stars, and they kind of faded out, and we got back to the match at hand, which was Elias and Jeff Hardy. And this bump that I want to talk about was scary. We've seen Jeff Hardy take crazy bumps before. We've seen him jump off ladders before, 20-foot ladders. And this wasn't un-Jeff Hardy-like. It was the landing that scared me. Did it scare you in the moment?
It did scare me, but the one that was most scary is when he did it off of the top of a truck.
Mm.
He did it like against Umaga, I think, in a Falls Count Anywhere. I actually remember that match. I've seen the whole video. It was like very Daredevil-like. That was like in his prime. I've never seen anything scary like that, and that was almost shocked me.
Yeah, it did, and I remember the bump you're talking about. And last night, though, the bump that he took, again, that Swanton bomb, he landed perfectly, but the ring steps, like, perfectly were aligned with the back of his skull, and I said, oh my God, right? Like, I'm waiting for him to be knocked out. You know, there are reports that he was concussed, so hopefully all is well. I'm sure he'll take a couple of weeks off to be precautious, but this should end this rivalry. Do you see this continuing in any way, or should this absolutely do it for these two?
I think it should probably end at TLC. That's like my prediction. I know it's kind of like too early to tell. We're close to TLC and also to the road to WrestleMania with the Royal Rumble. There could be two different ways it could end. It could either end in TLC or maybe Royal Rumble.
It could. They would have to at least add something else to this story, because it seems as if they have a very thin storyline with these two. Again, it's based on a false allegation that's easily debunked. If Elias just, flipped on his smartphone and went to the network, it's easily debunked. But outside of that, I don't know where they could go from here. When you go to a Symphony of Destruction match, that is essentially a hardcore match. So you could get to TLC. I mean, that is, I think, the furthest they could probably go is TLC. I don't know how they could get to the Royal Rumble with such a thin story at hand. But other than that, I mean, yeah, the match was a disaster in a beautiful way, if that makes sense. It wasn't exactly a technical wrestling match. It was very gimmick heavy, smash each other with stuff type of match, which has a place in wrestling. I have no problem with it. But
sure.
Yeah, so. But I also wanted to touch on, and this is kind of segueing a little bit into the whole Lana situation. Here's the thing. Lana has had a very weird career. Like, she came in, she was with Rusev, and they kind of stuck up, just obnoxious Russian uptight gimmick. And she had the Russian accent, and I think they were a great pairing. Then she got into the Dolph Ziggler thing. Rusev and her split. Then she came back to him, and it became kind of weird. And then Bobby Lashley comes along. She cheats on Rusev with Lashley. Eventually they divorce. It's been a weird ride. And with Lana now being on her own in a very humbled position, she's very humbled, which I think WWE is driving home, trying to erase all of the damage done to her character over the last several years, really. I'm finding myself a little, rooting for Lana, which I'm very surprised at. How do you feel about this situation with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, and she gets yet another victory in a tag team with Asuka, gets another victory over these two? What do you think about that and the storyline in general with Lana?
Well, the storyline itself, it's been like a roller coaster for Lana, because who knows, she's been like through the table 9 times, when she's doing what she's supposed to, but she's trying to do it for the brand. She's trying to do what's best for her. I know it's like not in like the script that they're supposed to do, but even though she did win the Survivor Series, Soul Survivor, I don't think that Baszler and Jax were too pleased with that, because one thing exactly is like when they were against, like when she was with Asuka to face Jax and Baszler, they weren't expecting her to win, and I know there's going to be some vengeance coming in from Jax and Baszler later on.
Oh, I mean, Lana's going to get hers again sometime soon, and the 9 times through the table it almost became a comedy segment every week. I mean, it wasn't even storyline related. It was more of just, how is Lana going to get herself through the table again this week? I'm surprised they didn't go for the even 10. It's weird. The WWE likes their even numbers, and I'm shocked that she didn't, and I'm sure it's coming. But these 2 wins over Lana, or over Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, more importantly, do create some kind of sympathy or emotion from me that I didn't think I'd have for the character, because I was a proponent of just having Lana disappear for like 6 months. I was not a fan of her character, especially with Bobby Lashley. That whole storyline to me, I know some people enjoyed it, and that's fine, but it wasn't my taste, and I wasn't a fan of Lana on the mic at all. And she's started to hold her own in this very humbled. She kind of feels like she's the new girl. No one's there to back her up now, and I'm starting to feel a little sympathy for the character. Could you ever see Lana, that's probably, say, in the next 3 to 5 months, capturing the women's championship? Because that women's championship is honestly a secondary story to Lana, which is really weird.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, because I'm not exactly sure if she's, like, ready for a championship yet. She still has, like, time. She still has got to do a little bit more, like, competing, more matches to win. She just needs to, like, prove her worth, show that she wants the title, she wants the belt, she wants the championship opportunity.
Yeah, so she needs more time in front of fans. She needs more time to build her credibility as a single star, which she has not done yet. Right now, she is booked as if she gets a win, it's lucky. It's never if she gets a win, it's earned, right? She's in that WWE has booked her as a kind of that lovable, sympathetic, humbled / kind of pitiful at times character. I mean, she was shunned by Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax at the pay-per-view on last Sunday night on Survivor Series, just told to stand there like, mommy telling her kid to stand in the corner. I mean, it got to the point of almost embarrassing and pitiful for the character. And it looks like she's starting to gain some confidence. That's a good thing. I hope it continues. I don't need the pitiful little girl that just is told to sit in the corner with a dunce cap on. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, that's essentially what they've told her to do, and it looks like she's starting to move away from that. So that's a good thing. So the next thing here on Raw, and I'm not going in any particular order, but the dynamic here between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Do you enjoy this, first of all, and do you ever see Sheamus turning on Drew or actually turning full babyface?
Maybe full babyface possibly, because I know he's had a babyface pop before in 2013, like after he was King of the Ring and he won Rumble. He was a big pop babyface around that time. I know that they faced before, I think once or twice in the past, I can't really remember, but I think there's a good chance he could maybe be babyface. It depends on what the Vince McMahon wants to do with his storyline in the future.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. They are driving home the fact that Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are best of friends. They're best friends. They're best friends. They're families. And when they drive something like that home and how long they've been friends, that is a red flag for me that they're setting up something for Sheamus to do to turn on Drew. Like, they're setting and laying the foundation for a heel turn because they're telling us how great of friends they are, which will make it that much more dastardly when Sheamus does turn on Drew, for fans to know, oh my God, they're best friends. What is he doing? Look at their families. Look at what Sheamus did. So they, I think, are turning Sheamus back to heel as he kind of is towing the line right now because he's with Drew and there's no sign that he's going to turn on him. But I think if you're a smart enough fan, we probably could see the writing on the wall that Sheamus is going to turn on Drew because of the foundation being laid. However, there's also a case to be made, as you said, for turning Sheamus babyface. And maybe WWE doesn't even know what they're going to do yet. Maybe they're testing the waters to see what the reaction is of turning Sheamus babyface for a little while, seeing if it catches fire and it catches on. And if it doesn't, they have the heel turn laid out perfectly where he could turn on Drew, and that would be the next opponent for Drew McIntyre after we get past TLC with AJ Styles.
It could definitely happen, maybe Royal Rumble wise. I mean, he's been heel for for quite some time, even when he arrived, when he went at Cena, when he and he had his haters, and he had the mohawk with Cesaro. Oh my gosh, the mohawk and beard was embarrassing.
Yeah, well, the whole "you look stupid" chants. I mean, I remember when that started.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was funny.
it was. And I'm with you. That's a good point to be making too. That Sheamus just feels like a heel forever. Like he had his babyface runs that were mildly successful to good, but he is best known for being a heel. He just feels like a lifetime heel. So do they potentially try to turn him babyface and align him with Drew? I'm tending to believe no, only because, again, they're laying the foundation with the whole friendship thing. And Drew is a guy that doesn't need a teammate. I mean, he's not in a tag team, and opponents right now for him are thin. He can't go back to Randy Orton. The Fiend is tied up with Randy Orton, and we'll get to that. So the opponents are thin, So I think Sheamus would be next up on the block, and potentially, yes, at the Royal Rumble. I think that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it could happen definitely for sure. Like who knows what could happen in the near future? Maybe they could tangle up in maybe WrestleMania if Sheamus does the whole Royal Rumble match and goes through all 30.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count out Sheamus. I think they've got something in the book for him. I really think that they've got something planned for him that is bigger than what he was doing with the whole Jeff Hardy thing and the whole bar fight they had over the summer. There's something bigger, clearly, especially considering he's interacting with the WWE champion. So, yes. What about The Miz?
I'm also thinking there's probably going to be a return from Edge to Royal Rumble. That's my guess.
Oh, no, you're a step ahead of me. I was just going to talk about that with Randy Orton and The Fiend. But before we get there, I do want to touch on The Miz, as this is kind of interwoven with him being the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. He attacked Sheamus earlier when he was on the Miz TV. And then we got Miz teasing that he was going to cash in. And AJ Styles offered help during the match so that Miz could face AJ, because AJ knew that Miz was an easier opponent than Drew. So what do you think about The Miz holding the briefcase? Do you think there's a chance he could cash in the near future, or do you think they're going to wait?
I think they're going to wait because, one, his mouth is going to get him into trouble too many times, and it's happened before. And, I know before he had success when he did it to Randy Orton, when it was the PG era, and and there's probably going to be, a little bit of time, probably wait until, maybe or Rumble, Elimination Chamber, or WrestleMania, after, the end of that, and he'll probably catch until then. Who knows, or maybe even longer.
Yeah, there's a possibility they could go longer. I mean, technically, if they're going off of the Otis's contract that he inherited, they have until May of 2021, which is when TLC takes place, or I'm sorry, Money in the Bank takes place, that he could cash it in. So, in theory, he has about 5 months to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase before it expires. But, WrestleMania is a possibility. I don't know how far they're willing to take The Miz. And, that leads me to my next question for you is, if and when, and it's not if, when The Miz cashes in the briefcase, do you think he'll be successful, or do you think it will be, he won't be? It'll be a foiled attempt?
I mean, he's done it once before, but I think it'll probably be a foiled attempt because it depends if something happens, if he gets any interference, it could get foiled. If he's in another storyline, in the future storyline rivalry with somebody, if he doesn't have Morrison with him, it could end badly for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that Miz will be successful. I don't. And I don't want to see Miz as champion. I mean, I'm not a proponent, and I don't think that fans are proponents sitting there on social media, because that's really where we have to sit right now instead of being in an arena. I don't think fans are sitting there going, oh my God, will they just give Miz a chance with the championship? My God, it would be so great as a heel champion. I don't think fans are sitting there doing that. I think they're kind of dreading him with the briefcase, and they're thinking, can we please just have him cash it in unsuccessfully so we can stop talking about it? That's what I think fans are looking at. Most fans. There are some Miz fans out there, and that's fine. But I think the majority of fans are probably going, can we just have him fail at the cash in so we can move on? That's I think ultimately what's going to happen is he's going to fail. But it does kind of lead to when does he cash it in? And the one thing I'll say is that that a cash-in's not going to happen when WWE teases the cash-in to happen. Meaning, last night, when they teased throughout the show that Miz is going to cash in, could he cash in? He's going to recruit AJ to take out Drew, and then he'll pin him. It's not going to happen now. It will happen, as SummerSlam's slogan said, you'll never see it coming. And hopefully we don't see it coming. At least it'll be a surprise when it happens, even if it's a failed attempt.
And I have a feeling that his least favorite fan, I remember when they showed the angry Liz girl, she'll probably be seeing it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about her. Yeah. It's been, I don't know how many years since that happened. And I do wonder, what is that girl doing now, right?
I think 9 years, if I'm guessing. It was in 2011.
2011. Oh, wow. 9 years? That long ago?
I think so, if I'm correct.
You're probably right. I'm not going to dispute that. Probably, yeah. So I remember that very well. And if those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, you could probably even YouTube it. Just look up Randy Orton or a mean face girl in WWE. You'll find it. It's yes, that's a great analogy. So, okay, moving on though to what we want to talk about next is The Fiend and Randy Orton with Alexa Bliss. Now, before I say anything, I'm gonna toss it to you. Which way do you want to go with this? First of all, are you enjoying this storyline with The Fiend and Orton and Alexa? What do you think?
I know she's Alexa Bliss is showing a side of worriedness, he's suggesting me, please help me. She did it before it said Nikki Cross, and for sure that The Fiend's somewhere working, and he's gonna find out. Because he'll always find his prey and go for it.
Yeah, that's The Fiend. That's what he does, and he has a legitimate reason to go after Orton after everything that Orton's done in his past. And I like how they're consistent with who and why The Fiend attacks who he does. And there's a reason behind it. Everyone that he's attacked has done him wrong in the past. That makes total sense, and I applaud creative for those details that they've been they've adhered to and actually followed, as well as the fact that everyone The Fiend has faced has changed in some way. The Fiend has changed everyone that he's come in contact with. I like keeping the integrity of the character that way. That's great. I also, again, I'm a huge fan of Alexa Bliss. So those of you that listen know that I'm a huge fan of what they've done with her. They've taken her from this silly schoolgirl, just talking with Bliss over the summer with Nikki Cross to an actual serious, probably best role she's ever had in WWE ever in this character. And the little detail that they had on her talking with Bliss segment of and it wasn't even talked about, in her set that they put up there was a doll in a cage, and I think that's symbolic of her soul that's trapped inside of her by the Fiend exteriorly. So she's being possessed, and the Fiend's spirit has, again, guys, we're in pro wrestling fantasy land here, but the Fiend's spirit has somewhat jailed or prisoned the soul of Alexa Bliss. The good part of her has been kind of bottled up, and I think, maybe I'm reading completely into this, but that's how I read it. It was a little detail I noticed.
As soon as I saw the thing, I was thinking, what in the hell is in that cage?
Yeah, and they never even... I was hoping it wasn't Eric Rowan's pet. I mean, oh
my God, that spider.
Yeah,
ew.
The mechanical spider, nonetheless. It was, so... but,
I bet that was fake blood on his hand, too.
Yeah, that was just not good. That was just not a good payoff. Not a good payoff for that storyline at all. But and this is my personal opinion with The Fiend and Alexa, I think that The Fiend needs Alexa just as much as Alexa needs The Fiend with both of them. They both kind of needed a little bit of a refresh. I think both of them felt a little bit stale, and it was, once they put them together, it was peanut butter and jelly. They just meshed perfectly. I think Alexa is getting better by the week with her character, all in. I love her mannerisms. She doesn't break character. She's in it to win it, and I love what she's done. Now, here's a question about the Fiend's weakness. Do you truly believe that Randy Orton has identified the Fiend's weakness as Alexa Bliss?
That's the interesting question. I'm not sure if I have the answer to it just yet, because who knows what it could be? It could be anything. It could be that mask thing itself.
Yep. That's what I actually thought originally.
Or it could be that cage, or like, who knows? It could be anything.
I don't know. There's got to be a kryptonite. I mean, once they identify the kryptonite for the Fiend, then the Fiend is going to have to find a way to adapt to that kryptonite. I mean, you got to have something, because the Fiend, the way that this character is built, this guy is Superman. You can't put him down. Nothing will stop him. He has yet to lose outside of Goldberg, but we don't talk about that. We have not seen him yet lose a match clean. Again, I'm ignoring the Goldberg match, guys. I don't. That doesn't exist. Like, the Fiend has yet to really lose a match that actually matters. I'll say it that way. And nobody has found his weakness. But I don't know why Alexa Bliss would be his weakness if the Fiend has what, just kind of, what is he, has he taken to her? Is he in love with her? I don't know why Alexa would be his weakness. I don't know. I'm not sure how or why that's going to work. And what was Randy going to do? He was just holding her. Why wouldn't he have tried to, or at least threatened to RKO her? I mean, he was just holding her like a child.
Well, he was thinking like maybe the Fiend was going to do something first. He wanted to like decide what the Fiend was going to do first. If he wasn't going to do anything, and then next thing you know, he puts his hands out like, "Give me the girl."
Yeah.
Give me the girl.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just, and again, we're in PG environment, which I don't think Randy Orton would RKO Alexa Bliss. I know he RKO'd Beth Phoenix in the match ending up with Edge and Edge and himself. Yeah. But he's also RKO'd Nia Jax a couple of Royal Rumbles ago. But I don't think in this PG environment he would attack Alexa. It would have to be an extreme circumstance. So do I think he's going to do it? Maybe. I think that at TLC, as I'm booking this in my mind, they could have Randy Orton RKO Alexa after Alexa attacks him, so there's justification for male-on-female violence, and see what the Fiend does. Maybe he collapses, right? Like, if they're going to take the supernatural road to this, after he sees Alexa take an RKO, what happens to him? Is his soul damaged? Like, what happens to the Fiend? Maybe that's the road they're going to go.
Or maybe he gets, like, hit or something, loses some of its like momentum or some sort. And another thing I wanted to mention, maybe Fiend could be like the favorite for the Rumble leading up to soon.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, but do you ultimately think Randy Orton will beat the Fiend, or do you think that Bray Wyatt will be victorious at TLC?
I think it's pretty much going to be the Fiend, without a doubt. I know Orton likes to go into that dangerous place using the three most dangerous words, RKO, but I know that the mandible claw is going to get into play for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't think it's time for the Fiend to lose clean yet, and Randy Orton certainly is one of the best heels in the company, and to have him beat Bray Wyatt right now is not the time. I think Edge is what's next, as you alluded to, that Edge is probably on his way back shortly. From everything I hear, he's getting close. I don't know what that means. It could mean, a month. It could mean 2 months. It could mean next week. I don't think that any time before TLC we'll see Edge, so I think that's out. But certainly after TLC, when we get into the new year, a month from now, I always say, after we get through December, it's game on. And WWE seems to take a creative snooze in November and December as the holidays are here, and it just has always been a creative kind of lull. And I think once you get past TLC, it's all systems go. And when we get to January, we flip that calendar to 2021. That is when I believe we'll see Edge. And you think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you think that Edge could return in the Royal Rumble match itself?
Possibly. He's done it before. He's done it in 2010 and 2020. Twice. I think third time's a charm.
And how cool it would be if he actually re-debuted again at number 21, the number he debuted at last year. I mean, that'd
be awesome.
Yeah. My fantasy booking for this has remained pretty steady. That Randy Orton's in the Rumble. He comes in, clears house. He's mowing through people, kind of like Brock Lesnar did last year. Not in such a dominant fashion, but in that way where Randy Orton's just RKOing left and right. He's punting people. And then number 21 hits, and Edge is coming out, and Randy Orton has nowhere to go. And that is what I think happens, where Edge and Orton maybe eliminate one another, because they have to face each other at WrestleMania, you would think. So that's how I would book it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to face up at WrestleMania, because I know Edge is going to want some redemption back at Orton for what he did.
Well, don't forget, Edge also said before he left that he is no longer Edge, just happy to be back, that he has brought out a part of him that he thought was gone, and that's the Rated R Superstar. So
maybe it could be the ones from the mid-2000s, like that version of the Rated R Superstar.
We could, but don't forget, we're in a PG era. And when you have a Rated R Superstar in a PG era, I'm thinking he'll take elements of it. We're not going to have a live sex show with, Lita.
Oh my God,
so that's not going to happen. But certainly he could be more vicious. He's going to be relentless. He's going to be nasty. He's going to look for blood. And that's what the Rated R Superstar, the part of the version, the PG version of the Rated R Superstar, it's kind of an oxymoron, but that's the version of him we'll get. So I'm looking forward to it. I just hope against hope, that when Edge returns, that it's in front of some kind of fans, presumably at the Royal Rumble, and that it's not in front of these, digitally created fans that are sitting at home. And I understand it's not WWE's fault. They're doing the best they can, and I appreciate what they've done. But I hope we get a Rumble with actual fans there. It's going to be really hard to watch the Rumble without fans. Of course, we said that with WrestleMania and every other pay-per-view since, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And I've also heard that they're going to move the Thunder to Tropicana Field, actually.
Yep. Actually, starting, I think, in 2 days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be like an NXT for SmackDown. It'll happen SmackDown.
Yep. Yes. That'll be the first time they're there. And the good thing about that is, number one, it's a change of venue. That's good. I was tired of the Performance Center. I'm so glad we're out of there. And they went to the Amway Center. They rented that out for a few months. That's great, down in Orlando. Now they're going to go to Tampa. And the good thing about moving to a much bigger venue, number one, Tropicana Field, for those that don't know, has a retractable roof. So if they want to open it, they can. If they want to close it, it's raining, they can. It's also much bigger than the Amway Center, which means if you have a much bigger place, you could potentially have thousands of people there, but they're spread out, right? They're spread out. Yeah. They're socially distanced. Fine, you wear masks, whatever the requirements are. And Florida is a much more lenient state with those health requirements than any other state right now. So it would tend to tell you that it could happen. We could have potentially fans there at the Rumble.
Yeah, it's a definite possibility. I don't know if they're going to have it like in different parts of the field, except by like where the Jumbotron screen is, because they're probably going to keep that there and it'll show the show itself on it. Mm-hmm. Or unless they take that down and then put like the digital fans there. It depends on how they want to go with it.
I don't know. Yeah. Either way, I'm sure that they are dying to get fans back just as bad as we are. And I've said this too, that as bad as we want as fans to see fans back, and as bad as fans want to go back, I think the wrestlers want the fans back even more than the fans want to be back, because the wrestlers, their livelihoods, their characters, their promos, everything is built around crowd reaction. And when you don't have that crowd reaction, it's taking the soul out of what you're doing. So we as fans want to be back, but it's got to be even harder for the wrestlers to go out week after week with no real reaction from fans. They don't get that instant connection. That's got to be really hard. I mean, so
yeah, it's sad, and it's like really hard to go with it if you're like one of those big WWE fans that really wants to get to a show at least once.
Yeah, and we can, and I'm just hoping too. Not only Rumble, but WrestleMania this year is. I mean, it's supposed to be, I believe, in LA. WrestleMania 37 this year. I doubt that. I very much doubt it's going to be in LA. I think there's rumors of them also moving that to Tampa. I think that would be a smart move. I don't think this pandemic, and I'm not trying to get into coronavirus, but I don't think this pandemic's going to go anywhere, even if a vaccine comes out in a month. It's going to be around for a very long time regardless. And so with that in mind, I think it would behoove them to go to Tampa, in a state that's a little more lenient. They already have Tropicana Field set up. It's a WrestleMania type of stadium. Certainly, I think that's probably what they're going to do. And so, all right, well, back to Monday Night Raw. The main event, we got, well, actually, this wasn't the main event, but it was the semi-main event, the triple threat match that they labeled the sudden death triple threat match. I mean, so let me ask this. What is a sudden death triple threat match? Is there such a thing?
I never heard of such a name like that. That's one. And sudden death, where did they even bring that up?
I don't know. My point, I think that what they do, and WWE is just famous for this over the last 6 months, is they're trying to create like marketing tags and slogans and little sayings underneath pay-per-views and for matches that it sometimes is either insanely impossible to achieve, like the greatest wrestling match ever with Edge and Orton, and WrestleMania too big for one night. All these things that they've suddenly just kind of attached to matches and attached to pay-per-views out of nowhere. Sudden death triple threat match, to me, well, a triple threat match is sudden death. Like, that's what it is. Like, so, because it's one fall or one submission to a finish. So, a triple threat match is sudden death. A singles match is sudden death. A fatal four-way is sudden death. Like, every match, unless it's an elimination match, is sudden death. So, I laugh when they put these things on there, but nonetheless, we got this triple threat match with Keith Lee, Riddle, and AJ Styles. What'd you think about it?
I thought that was a really good match, back and forth, and it was kind of surprising that you had the security guy just do his thing. He just watched, and the match was like, I think I would give it like 4 stars. That's particularly my opinion. It was almost close. Matt Riddle was almost going to get it, and then AJ Styles was able to capitalize and get the win, unfortunately.
No. And did you think that AJ Styles was the right guy to win, or would you have liked to see Keith Lee or Riddle win?
I would still want to see Keith Lee against Drew McIntyre. That's the kind of match I would want to see.
And we got a tease of that about a month or so ago when they were at each other's throats on Raw, but we never really saw it completely flesh out. And I think there's reason for that. I don't think, and I agree that would be more of an interesting match because you have kind of an up-and-coming talent. Can he actually pull it off? And a very credible one at that, especially if you've watched NXT, you know his body of work. But Keith Lee, I don't think is ready for that yet. I think that they learned a little bit from the Roman Reigns push several years ago that when they push someone too hard too fast, it backfires. So and smartly, I think they're kind of pulling back on that with him being in a championship match. That being said, Riddle's in the same position, and he was there to take the fall for AJ Styles, and I think that was the right move because Keith Lee in the totem pole of wrestlers in Vince's eyes and how creative has presented them, I think Riddle is a little bit below Keith Lee. They kind of make him a bit of a comedy character at times, but man, when the bell rings, Matt Riddle, I still say Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle can go. Like Matt Riddle is a really is an amazing athlete, and Keith Lee too for his size. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah,
definitely. It's like he's at the starting gate. Like whenever the match starts, he just like goes for it. He like shows up the moves. He's like all business.
Exactly. Like he is and that's kind of, I guess, the way that they're going to present Matt Riddle is he's this kind of goofy, frat boy kind of pothead surfer backstage making jokes. But when the bell rings, he is 100% business, and he can go. He can kick ass. And that's exactly what he's done. And he's amazing in the ring. I do not like his character. I've been very vocal about that. But in the ring, man, I love what he can do. And I'm a big fan of his in-ring work. So AJ Styles gets the win. And do you think, a little bit of a TLC pay-per-view preview here, but is there any chance AJ Styles dethrones Drew McIntyre? Any chance at all?
Easiest answer, nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
He's going to keep the belt.
Yeah, exactly, and especially given that Drew just won it back. I mean, there's just almost zero chance that he wins. What'll be interesting though is if he gets Omos, his big bodyguard there, to interact at all with Drew McIntyre. That to me will be a nice little confrontation that I'm sure fans want to see. Is Drew McIntyre get in the face of him? And I'm sure that at TLC maybe they do, or maybe they do on Monday Night Raw next week. But I don't know where Amos, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is.
I think it's Amos.
Amos. So I'll go with Amos. I don't know where they're positioning him in the future, if they're just going to kind of keep him as the bodyguard. What do you think about AJ and Amos?
He's kind of interesting, and finally get to hear him speak once, because he will be this like silent type kind of person, and like next now you hear him speak. It's kind of same thing when you like same thing with Kane. He was always like quiet, like didn't speak, and then you hear him speak without the voice box, which is actually surprising. So it's probably going to be a little bit interesting how they like coexist for sure.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how their dynamic, continues. And actually, it's a nice, refreshing change for AJ Styles that I think needed a change for a long time to have him, to have Amos, and AJ together, because AJ also kind of felt stale for a while. And AJ was even vocal about after he was buried by The Undertaker at WrestleMania, that would have been a perfect opportunity for him to go through some kind of character adjustment, tweak, anything, and there was nothing. Like nothing happened to AJ. He just kind of came back a few weeks later, a month later, whatever it was, and he was the same guy, same exact guy. And it felt like there needed to be something different. And yeah, this isn't a character change per se, but he has a new dynamic and a new person to kind of work with and be allies with than in the past, where he was just always on his own. So I like this. I hope this continues. I like the size difference between the two. It's hilariously dramatic. Like AJ Styles is, Amos has got to be like 3.5 feet taller than AJ Styles. It's insane. So I like it. He's
probably got to be the same height as Big Show, maybe, but Big Show is definitely taller.
I think even taller. This guy, I got to look up his stats. He's got to be 7'3", 7'4". He's huge, and I love the look of him.
Shaq.
Yeah, I love his presence. This guy can just tell me so much without even speaking, and I know he's talking now, which is good. But even before that, the weeks before that, the looks he would give and just his blank stare and the turtlenecks with the chain. It's like an 80s throwback. He's like an 80s bouncer at a nightclub. But I just love his look. I hope that eventually we get to see what he can do inside the ring. I'm really looking forward to that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, what else happened here? We got, moving on, skipping through, I have on my notes here. Dana Brooke versus Reckoning. So Dana Brooke won this match, and Dana, of course, got the roll-up. So we got to have a roll-up every pay-per-view, or every single show. We at least have to have one. It's just It's just booking. That's just what they do. So Dana Brooke wins. Reckoning is part of Retribution. First of all, what do you think about Retribution? I haven't really heard your thoughts on what they've done with Retribution so far.
They've just been kind of faded a little bit, kind of still, as you would say. They haven't done much as they would usually do, go crazy like how Nexus would. But they've been having matches. Sometimes they need a little bit of a bump, a little bit more chances to like to do better. And I know for sure that the reckoning number is Mia Yim. I could tell by the color of her blue hair.
Absolutely, yes, yep.
And my guess is that she probably does her regular stuff in NXT, and then she does reckoning on Raw.
Yes, yeah, she's basically doing the old Mick Foley duo here. I mean, she is two characters right now, and I have spent more breath and more time in my life talking about how much Retribution makes no sense than I have probably ranted about Roman Reigns over the last 6 years in his babyface role. I mean, I just don't understand the purpose of Retribution anymore. I mean, if they just disappeared off my screen with no explanation, I actually wouldn't care. And I'm a big proponent of explanations and at least big plot holes not happening. And in this case, I would make an exception for Retribution to just go away and pretend it never happened. And it's not to say I want these men and women out of a job. It's just that this is one of the worst executed, least thought through stories of all time in WWE with this group. I mean, there was just almost no detail given to this, or thought given to this, other than let's make an impact, let's have them come in with chainsaws, attack everybody. Well, how are they getting contracts? Oh, we'll worry about it later. I mean, it's insane. But Dana Brooke on the other side she's got a victory here. I mean, that's a positive. Even in a victory that meant nothing, anytime Dana Brooke gets a victory, it's surprising. I mean, I never expect Dana Brooke to win. So, I mean, did that mean anything to you with Dana Brooke actually winning a match?
It definitely made her put her up close to the championship picture. Hopefully, in the definite future, for sure, moved up her status.
I hope so. That. Yeah, I think Dana Brooke would be a good candidate for the feel-good story. She has been with WWE for quite some time now, and every time you see her, as fans, we're educated to look at her and say, nah, she's there to take the pinfall. She's not winning this match. And 9 times out of 10, we are all right. 9 times out of 10, Dana Brooke just takes a pinfall, maybe talks a good game, but then ends up losing the match, submitting or being pinned clean. Nothing. And I think that if they put a little bit of a story behind her, that fans, I think, would be along for that. I think the fans would pull along with her and be on that ride, because when you have somebody that has been there that long, fans respect people that are there for a long time. Even if they lose consistently, fans respect those that are there for a long time. And I think that you're right, that if they continue to put her there and they continue to maybe have her get a win here and there, she could eventually get to the championship picture. But they're going to have a lot of work to do because of how many years they've educated us to believe she's there to take the pinfall. So would you like to see a Dana Brooke championship run maybe sometime in 2021?
Definitely. I definitely would want to see that. And it depends on whoever the current champion is, if Asuka's still champion or if there's another champion. I definitely would want to see a championship match. Maybe the first time, maybe keep the title. Maybe she doesn't win the championship. Maybe it could be 1, 2, say 3 times. And on the third time, she could maybe get the title.
I like that. Yeah, it would have to be exactly the way that you kind of laid it out, where they do a lot of foundation work over the next 3 to 5 months, 6 months. And she ends up winning some big matches, maybe ends up capturing the women's tag team championships that are never ever defended because they almost have no one to defend them against because there's no women tag teams. But she could do something like that, or then kind of go on a run where the announcers start to draw the narrative that, wow, that's an impressive win. What a shocking upset. They could lay the foundation for her over the next several months, and she starts to cut good promos, which she does need a little help with. She's kind of awkward when she talks, but look, there's, if she has the content right and the passion right, I think she can overcome the kind of awkwardness that she has on the microphone. But certainly, there's something there that has not been tapped yet. She's a great athlete. She looks the part. She's blonde, which Vince McMahon loves. And she checks all the boxes. They just haven't really ever said, okay, let's see what Dana can do. They haven't done that yet. So I don't know. I'm hopeful of it, but my concern also is that Charlotte is on the horizon shortly. Rumor has it she's Rumble time returning. So
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I heard from a friend saying about Charlotte that she's maybe thinking of coming back. Why she had some kind of issue and that she was taking a little bit of a break.
Yes.
Same for Rollins too.
Mm-hmm. Which Rollins needs it more than anyone right now. Rollins, we all thought when Rollins went to SmackDown, okay, good, he's got a fresh start. Let's go. Let's do something big with Rollins. And it was just more of the Mysterio family. It was the nightmare followed him to SmackDown, and it was, I think I can speak for all fans, and that went on about 3 months too long, minimum. It just got insanely, terribly repetitive. And Rollins probably would say the same thing. I know that he was vocal on a couple of podcasts. I forget which ones, or had credited them, but he was very vocal in that, I'm ready to move on. And rightfully so, but Rollins does need a break, and I think his daughter or son, is it a daughter that Becky's having? I don't remember if it's a boy or girl. But it's a great time for him to also spend time with his family, his newborn child, and from a professional standpoint, I don't think it could come at a better time either. So this may be a blessing in disguise for Seth Rollins to just take a month, 2 months off and come back in time for WrestleMania season.
Yeah, possibly. And there's a good chance he could maybe be in the Royal Rumble match. That would definitely be a big pop for her. And hopefully soon, maybe Becky Lynch too. But I know she's still going to have the baby soon, and she's got plenty of time. And it's probably going to be, her return's probably going to be after WrestleMania season. That's my definite guess.
I think she's looking at maybe the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. I think Becky Lynch coming back the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania would be a really big deal. Now, of course, it's going to depend. How long does she want to spend at home with her child? She would only have been there for 3-4 months. Does she want to spend longer, maybe through the summer? We don't know. Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she has no idea how her pregnancy or her delivery is going to go. There's so many unknowns. But I'm sure she's eyeing the very earliest WrestleMania, which would be insane considering she has to get her body back in shape. Mentally, it takes a long time to get back there. So I would think you're right. Probably after WrestleMania, more in the summertime, maybe SummerSlam is more realistic for Becky Lynch. I think SummerSlam, if I was going to put money on it, the earliest to me would be Raw after WrestleMania at the absolute earliest, and even that's stretching it. But more SummerSlam. That would be awesome. But Charlotte, in the near term, is much, much closer. And that's why our Dana Brooke conversation about potentially capturing the Raw Women's Championship is definitely nowhere near reality, given Charlotte is this close. And I think that's why that Asuka has kind of been just spinning her wheels for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now, doing comedy segments with the Street Profits and doing just kind of random stuff. And now she's in this makeshift tag team with Lana that she is just staying the course until Charlotte gets back. I think that's the case. Do you think that's the case, that Charlotte's going to get interjected immediately into the Raw Women's Championship picture?
Maybe. I think it could happen. Maybe so. It's something right now. It's too early to tell, but I think definitely leading up to the nearest future, I think there's going to be a good chance that it could happen, possibly after she's done doing her tandem with Lana.
I think so too. There's to me, that's just where Charlotte always seems to be. Anytime Charlotte is on a show, she's in the title picture one way or the other, and it'll be great to have Charlotte back. I mean, I was getting a little bit tired of her character before she left because she was on every single show all the time, and it was Charlotte overload. And this time off has been really good for her character. I'm looking forward to her return. She's got a good amount of talent to work with. She could be right back with Asuka. There's things that she can do. So, all right, now we get to the main event, and it is the tag team, the makeshift tag team of Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus The Miz and Morrison. What did you think about this? Drew McIntyre and Sheamus obviously win, but did you think it was a good match?
Yes, I think it was a good match for sure, because I know that Miz and Morrison, after what Sheamus did to them, they're gonna want some like paper after that. They want to like beat them up worse, but apparently their plan went to hell, and it did not happen. Did not go the way they wanted to, and I think Sheamus and Drew McIntyre definitely deserve that win.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it was the Miz and Morrison are a kind of a weird team where they were supposed to take them as a legitimate tag team, but they're always joking around. They get the occasional big win here and there, but more often than not, if they ever go straight up with a babyface team, they're going to lose. And I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm very conflicted with the Miz and Morrison because they're both. The Miz I think is more stale than Morrison, but they took Morrison and they put him back right where he was before he left with WWE. Immediately right back. They didn't try to put him as a single star. Boom, he's back with the Miz because they just felt that's where he was. That's his place, which I think is a big mistake. I think Morrison could be a great single star, and to me, they're missing out on that potential right now.
And he's done it before in the 2010s when after the draft when Miz just put a reality check to Morrison after they ended their tag team reign for years. They were great. They were great in the early times, and yes, they were hated so much and they had the dirt sheet, which they still do, which makes me sick sometimes. And now I think Morrison's better off on his own singles career for sure.
Absolutely, and the Miz is too. I don't think these two together are actually, to me, less valuable than being on their own. They're at both of them are at points in their careers. They don't need to be in a tag team to be successful. That's how you start usually younger stars, to team them up, build a foundation with them, show the fans what they can do, and have the inevitable breakup. In this case, it's like, well, we've seen them in a tag team, 10 years ago. They split up. They were both successful in singles careers, and now you're going to put them back together. To me, it's moving backwards. It's like they got stuck in 2008 and they can't get out of it. They're just trapped in 2008. And I'm not a fan. I don't find them funny. I don't find them entertaining. I'm like, what are they doing together? These are two grown men that have had very successful wrestling careers, and they're really slated to be a comedy, quote, comedy. I say comedy very loosely, a comedy team that is on every single show doing Miz TV. I mean, have we had a show yet that doesn't have Miz TV? Can we have a show that doesn't have Miz TV, please? I don't know.
Or Dirt Sheet. Or Dirt Sheet.
Yeah, it's true. Boy, oh boy. But anyway, we got the phenomenal forearm from McIntyre. He almost got cashed in on, but McIntyre hit the Claymore, which stopped the cash in. And honestly, I don't know. This happens so many times with cash-ins that are failed cash-ins, where the person who's holding the briefcase will hand it to the referee, and there's a long delay from when the referee gets the briefcase to when the bell rings. I don't know why we can't just immediately get the bell ringing for the championship match. I mean, so anyway, McIntyre foils the cash-in, and AJ Styles gets pulled away by Amos, and AJ's talking trash as he's being carried away like a child by Amos, and McIntyre is screaming, "Piss me off!" He wants him to be angry. To me, I'm looking forward to the match at TLC. I just think we know the inevitable outcome of Drew McIntyre retaining.
Definitely. That's definitely what's going to happen for sure. And it's also happened before. It's happened before to Sheamus, and it happened by Kane.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. You're pulling a little history out here. Yes. I
like pulling history.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's what we do. That's how we compare storylines. That's how we know what works and doesn't. But so I think that's it. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that happened on Monday Night Raw? Anything else that I may have missed?
We did miss the Ricochet and Slapjack thing. I know Slapjack.
Right. Yes. And Xavier Woods and Cedric Alexander, I do see that here. These are things that are not on Hulu that I have to kind of review. Yeah, Hulu kind of cuts out these matches that have that. And honestly, I don't know. I would think WWE, when they cut this Hulu version of Raw, WWE has to probably sit there, somebody at WWE, and go, yeah, you can cut this and this and this from Hulu. It's not that important. I mean, there's got to be somebody that is telling Hulu to cut this and this and this, right? Or unless they produce the 90-minute themselves. Yeah, I don't.
I think it's probably because they want to take out the boring, crappy matches and keep the better matches with the better promos. I know they keep the beginning, they keep the end, they keep the better matches, and like the longer ones. Like, I don't know how they do it.
I would think that, I mean, WWE has to have a say, and maybe they produce the 90-minute version themselves, but it's kind of, it's telling whoever they cut that what they cut is simply filler, right? Mm-hmm. Like, whatever they cut is filler, period. And that's very telling, oftentimes, more often than not, of Monday Night Raw, of who they're focusing on and the storylines they actually have a plan for based on what they cut from the 90-minute version of Raw. But yeah, I mean, Cedric Alexander picks up a win. Cedric Alexander's a great wrestler. I don't have much to say about that. And yeah, I mean, anything else? Anything else you wanted to chat about before we wrap things up?
Nope, I'm good.
Alrighty. Well, Sean, before you go, did you have any social media or anything you'd like to share with the listeners to get in contact with you if they like?
Apparently I did mention it before. I kind of gotten some of it wrong. So, like, once again, my Twitter is Harford Sean, which I mentioned that. And my YouTube, I'll have to correct it. It's #1KOBE then YT. I know I said it wrong before, and this time I corrected it.
Great. Well, that's how we know. And I'm going to take a really big shot in the dark here and say you're a Kobe Bryant fan.
Yes, I am.
Man, well, 2020 has not been a great year for.
No.
Jeez. I mean, it's that's really what. I mean, that actually happened before coronavirus, didn't it? With his daughter.
I think so. Yes. I think it was probably before the COVID thing, and then after that, COVID kind of came in. That's my definite guess. I think it did.
Jeez, boy.
Yeah, it did. It really hurts.
It's terrible. I mean, I know we're going off on a really big tangent here, but that was even if you don't watch basketball, like you have no idea other than like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, all the big names, like and have heard of Kobe Bryant, you would recognize his face. And he was just one of those people that's just constantly there as a basketball living legend. And I've talked to people, and I'm not a huge basketball fan, but that have had and felt like they had a connection with Kobe that almost took this personally. Like the people were crying and they didn't even know Kobe, and it's a testament to his status, to the connection he had with people. And it was, yeah, I mean, I heard that news. It was just tragic, especially considering his daughter was in there. I mean, geez, yeah.
Even the coach, like some of her teammates, the pilot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not diminishing the other people, and certainly that were in the crash. But I mean, it was just, I can't imagine, like, I'm not trying to like be a big downer on the show at all, but like what I really like kind of think about is what were those like last few moments? Like, what were they saying to each other? Did they know they were in trouble? What were they saying to one another? I mean, I can't imagine, right? Like, it's just, it's awful.
My initial guess is like, I hope we be together in heaven. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna miss being a lot. I'm gonna miss the Lakers and everything that they did for us.
Yeah, I'm sure it was them embracing one another. I mean, that's what you'd like to think, right? I mean, yeah. Oof. All right. Well, everybody, I didn't mean to get on that.
And at least I have his 24 number on my jersey, customized Laker jersey.
Oh, well, I'm jealous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I mean, like, I do occasionally watch basketball, like, once in a while, and I obviously know who Kobe Bryant is and what he meant to the Lakers and everything else. So wow. But okay. So how about that for an ending? I never thought that beginning the show I'd talk about basketball to end the show. But here we are. So, Sean, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure as always. Much appreciated you being a loyal listener, and we will have to do this again. So thank you very much.
Anytime, Matt. Anytime you want me to come back on, I'm always down to do it for sure. Any show, even if it's nostalgia, I'll definitely do it for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. You have a good night.
You too. Have
Thanks.
a good one.